Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. Ep 11 here, I believe, for us. We're now 6 games into the season. This campaign's off and running, whether that's good or bad for some folks. We'll break a lot of that down here on the show, Justin. We've got a third wheel on the show today, much more than a third wheel. A third wheel doesn't do this guy justice. We have loved having him on. Obviously, we already had him on once this season, but the people love it, man. And the people, when they clamor, we bring them back. And so for episode 11, we've got our special guest for you all and our player analyst, AJ Cochran. He did his full intro in the first episode. Make sure you go check that out. But AJ brings a wealth of experience playing at various levels in the pyramid of U.S. soccer, and St. Louis guy. Hell of a dude. AJ, welcome back. How are you, man?
Good, boys. Thank you for that introduction. You guys are too kind and too nice. I don't think I deserve all that, but I love anytime you guys invite me on. I am honored to come on and share the mic with you boys.
Jake calling you a third wheel, it would not be like in a dating sense. It'd be like if we had training wheels and we had a bike and we only had one on our bike. Like, we would be like just scooting along. So
listen, very different. Hey, you guys are the experts. I am just here to share an opinion or two.
Oh, we'll get that out of you here. We'll get that out of here, AJ. All so right. We I don't know if we did this, AJ, when it was just you and I, because I think Justin was missing the episode, but we have a usual segment we kind of start off with just to have a little bit of fun. And you can take this any direction you go, and we'll go before you so you can have time to think about it. But usually we do, what are you watching? And it can be a show, it can be a movie, it can be anything you are actually watching in life. And I'm going to make mine city-oriented, Justin, here. I know your spin here, but I know you saw this too, Justin. I wonder if you've experienced this, AJ, when we were at the game. I'm watching the experience right now, and the experience is great. But did anyone experience the lines, the ticket lines to get into the stadium on Sunday? It was crazy, like bigger than I've ever seen it. And I think some people are like, well, that's a good thing, right? Because you're packing the house. But it's never been like that. Like, it was a normal time for people to get in. I wonder if there was any sort of issue getting into the stadium. And so we didn't really inquire about anything. And the people were great working with, like, no one was getting fed up. They were trying to make sure things went along. So good on the staff to try to make it run as smoothly as possible. But it was pretty crazy. We almost missed kickoff, and we were there like with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, we still had a good 60 to people behind us. And the reason what I do think it was, Jake, was the day game. I think the light was throwing off their scanners, whatever that was. But something we definitely need to look at because we have a couple day games coming up. But Jake, I know I typed something out here. I'm going to save it for next one because I don't know why I didn't think about this. College basketball, Final Four this weekend. You're going to have your 4 number 1 seeds, the second time since 2008 this has ever happened, which was in the Final Four back in San Antonio. So you're going to have Auburn and Florida, and then Duke and Houston. It's going to be an awesome matchup in the national championship. That'll be on Saturday night. National championship will be on Monday. So yeah, Jake, when we're at Sporting Kansas City, we can say it this episode since we're doing a little preview for them. I'm going to have to be streaming it some way, like on the side phone, on next to the beer or something. But AJ, what have you been watching?
Oh, man, I've been watching TV shows. So I've been watching White Lotus. I've been watching 1923. And then my wife and I just started Paradise. Big TV show guy. Disappointed with White Lotus this season. Disappointed with 1923. Paradise is off to a good start. But yeah, I'm hoping for a good end to those 2 seasons, hopefully.
AJ, I saw the White Lotus finale is an hour and a half runtime, like not including credits and intro and stuff. So hopefully they're coming out with a bang for you.
Well, let me tell you, they got a lot to close up. So it better be an amazing hour and a half episode because this season's been hard to watch.
Oh my God, I'm cracking up.
Cringy. I know, that's how HBO is, but still entertaining. But I'm just hoping it goes out with a bang, So we'll see.
I love it. AJ Cochran, part-time player analyst, part-time movie TV show critic.
Yeah, I am here first on the show. Yep. and Masters coming up, so I have been watching some golf. So.
There you go. And we've already mentioned the Blues plenty of times on here. Obviously, we're all watching the Blues. They're playing right now at time of recording as well. Keeping a close eye on Jimmy Snuggs making the debut tonight, fresh off the ice from college in Minnesota where they got eliminated. So keeping an eye on that too here as well. But hey, quickly, before we get into like all the post game and all the fun stuff from this last weekend, boys, I don't know if you saw AJ, but Justin was out duncing people today on social media, just taking names. I mean, we claimed a lot of lives with the Olaf being fired, Instagram and tweet. I mean, my wife we got our buddy Kevin, who sits with us in the season tickets. We probably got close to 100 people. I think people were legitimately freaking out.
You got my mom. My mom sent me a message. She's like, I called it. And I'm like, Mom, that's April Fools. Yeah, but honestly, when I was scrolling and I first saw it, I was like, I mean, I picked up on it pretty quickly, but I was like, whoo,
Justin,
it was good.
What do you got to say?
And our boy got arrested too. I saw you got arrested, Justin.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah. I also got arrested on Sunday. Arrested as in a red card from the city ref. Shout out to those guys. Those guys are hilarious. But yeah, the Olaf thing kind of blew up, and then Jake, I don't know if you saw it. I ended up throwing. We were deciding between Olaf and Klaus getting sold to LA Galaxy. I threw that up on the story as well. But it was an easy one. And the reason that it came to mind was I woke up and I got on social media and I got tricked into a couple of these things. And then to mention that, AJ, did you see Tiger's tweet? He said, or even though what everybody said about my Achilles, I'm good to go for the Masters. And that was obviously an April Fool's thing as well. So people have been getting got all day long.
It's funny because it happens every year. Big brands, big athletes, big celebrities, big personalities always somehow, and I'm not putting us in that category, by the way, but they always tend to get people, even though everyone knows the day it is. Maybe you kind of forget for a split second. But the thing is, I think Justin is funny as it was. I saw people legitimately saying Olaf out after this game. So I think it was like funny, but also like some people probably had a back of their head like maybe. And I saw some takes on it, Justin, saying that, hey, this might age well in terms of who knows, maybe it could happen this year. I don't really think so personally, but funny.
Yeah, I want everyone to know that was not like a knock at him. I think it was just something that Jake and I talked about. Is like the fans would believe this because people are frustrated already. Like, let's pump the brakes. We're in a playoff spot still. Yep. We're having a fine start season. No one was talking about this in our first 3 games or 4 games, and we only gave up a goal. So let's pump the brakes. I'm still liking Olaf. I mean, we'll talk on it right now about some of the lineup changes and everything that's been happening. That's the one questionable thing. But otherwise, this was not a knock at him.
Yeah, and that's a good transition, Justin, because, AJ, I look at this lineup, the 11 that we rolled with on Sunday in a home match against Austin, and you roll with 5 center backs in the lineup. 5 center backs, their normal position. And really, I would call it 2 field players that are, born attackers, and those being Betcher and Hartel. I know Wallen was up with them as well, but he's not really a guy that usually you think of as like a pinpoint attacker guy or attacking type player. I was pretty shocked looking at him, man. I mean, you saw Nilsson make the return, which is great. Kessler, Yarrow, Horn as well. And then you saw Morales and Durkin play ahead of them. You saw Hebert at right wing back. Any way you slice or dice it, AJ, I mean, if you were on this team still playing in your years right now, I think you could have gotten a start on Sunday. I mean, we're playing every center back we have right now. What was your reaction? You look at that. I mean, anything stick out to you as, hey, this looks kind of conservative, or, hey, they're going for a point? Like, what does it look like to you?
Yeah, I think conservative is a perfect word. I remember going back to preseason when we were talking about Hebert. Hebert, my position for Hebert is right side of the back 3. I just don't think he's that wing back. That's not a knock against him. I just think if I was putting that team together, where Yarrow is playing, but I thought Yarrow was one of our best players actually in the game. Okay. But I don't think it suits Hebert's, his playing style the best at that right wing back spot. From an overall team perspective, I think we've seen like a good defensive identity. I think we're very good in a low to medium block, hard to break down at times. My question is, what do we got going forward? Where's our identity going forward? And I think that's what the fans are, upset about. We did have some good quality opportunities to score. I think goals will come, but there's still, like you said, a lot of changes to the starting 11, kind of game in, game out. Where's our identity at? I'd like to see a little bit more of an identity 6 games into the season. So
for sure, I love that point. I think because people, I'll kind of take it both directions, AJ, there, because I agree. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater for us. Defensively, still a pretty solid game, despite giving up, the goal in the way that we did. I think it was probably one that's pretty preventable when you take it back to the training pitch and look at it on a video. But again, it's not that Austin gave us a ton of problems in the course of the game. They just executed their game plan a hell of a lot better than us, and we didn't do really much of anything to go down swinging, in my opinion. And we didn't really line up that way either. So it's like you kind of got what you put in, right? Which was a very defensive setup. You didn't really offer much threat going forward. You have a couple kind of half chances here and there, but otherwise, what else did you expect, right? When you see that 11?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We'll get to, because I got some thoughts going forward. I agree with Justin. I think it's nothing against Bescher, but I think now you got to give Klaus 2 starts in a row, 90 minutes.
Yep. 1,000%.
That's my thought process on that. The good things and takeaways, I wasn't super disappointed in their performance, like you said. Solid defensively, didn't give up too many opportunities. We've been solid defensively for, the entire season so far. We're not conceding a lot of goals, not conceding too many chances, which is something to build on. Mm-hmm. But you can't win games if you don't score goals. And I know from previous teams I was on, is the teams that always did well, the teams that were always playoff teams, the teams that were winning trophies, where you had confidence that you weren't just going to score 1 goal a game. There could be 2, there could be 3. And that's what I'm wondering is in that locker room right now, right? There's things to build on, but got to see a couple goals, a couple games with these goals coming, basically, or else it's going to be hard confidence-wise for these guys to find the back of the net. So
yeah, and one stat last year, AJ, was we were the only team in the MLS not to have a single person score 6 or more goals. So which it can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But I will say I think we're kind of trending toward that again this year. We have 1 goal for Bescher, 1 for Hartel, 1 for Leuven, and 1 for Teuscher. I wanted to get your sense when you say locker room. There's a lot of these guys that are not can they get in a groove, or if you're a Celio or if you're a Klaus and you don't know if you're going to be starting, and maybe there's something we don't know if it's an injury or some kind of a problem, but if you don't know if you're going to even play in that game, or if you can't have a consistent role, is that become a locker room issue with the new coach?
Yeah. I think it just kind of depends. Go away. My dog wants to chime in. I think Celio, I love the spark that he brought in off the bench. Okay, I think he's just hungry to come back, right? I think Klaus, you need reps. Justin, I hope that's, a good answer. You need reps. It's hard to come in off the bench and immediately make an impact. If you can do that, that's very, very valuable.
Right.
There's a reason why in the NBA you're 6th man of the year, right? There is value to coming off the bench and making an impact on the team. But to be a goal scorer, a true goal scorer and having an impact game in, game out, I think the more starts, the more minutes you get, it's hard. To answer your question, I think it's hard to come off the bench and really have that confidence unless you score a couple games in a row. But if you score a couple games in a row coming off the bench, guess what? You're going to be wanting to start. And if you're not starting, then that could affect you. It could be, you could be upset you're not getting started because you're producing. So I think, it just comes with confidence. That's just the bottom line. So confidence and reps.
Yeah. I would agree. Another thing that was, I think, disrupted the overall flow for us too was obviously we were Leuven-less on this match, having to start with Morales and Durkin. And I just look at that midfield, obviously not Hartel, but I look at those 2 central midfielders. I'm just like I don't know what we're going to get here. And I don't believe Leuven's been at his best yet this season either. So it's not like we were, I think we missed him, but it wasn't like we've been experiencing his best version either the last couple of games. So I still think even not his best is much better than what we saw in terms of progression through midfield on Sunday. And Durkin, we know his limitations. He's a dog in the midfield. That guy jumps into challenges like it's his job. But Morales is not a 1-to-1 replacement for Leuven. And really no one probably could be. And so I found, I'm not sure if either of you two noticed this, that Hartel, at the tip of the spear in midfield is having to drop deeper and deeper to get involved in these games and to get touches and to really influence and get the ball either out wide. And by the time that he makes a meaningful pass, now he's 20, 30 yards behind the play and is having to sprint to catch up. And then who advances in the meantime is Durkin and Morales and other guys that if they get the ball in a dangerous area, I don't have the most confidence they're going to really know what to do with it because that's not their zone, right? So I found that to be something else I noticed, a good amount, especially in the first half in terms of our midfield progression.
And I would say, Jake, on that point as well, that's more of a frustrating point for him. He's not a guy that wants to be dropping back to get that. You see that a lot of times when you get to a striker that's not getting the ball, not getting touches. We saw it a lot last year. We'd see Klaus come almost all the way back to the back line, and that's one of those things where yes, it's better to have Hartel on the ball there, but if he's all the way back there, we're not going to have the missing piece that we need to connect up top, especially when we don't have Teuscher in there. Those are the 2 guys that I feel like are the glue in the sense that every goal that we scored at the end of last year, we had them. One of those 2 were involved, if not both of them, in the play. If you want to call it a hockey assist, but I'm pretty sure MLS gives hockey assists.
Yep.
Those guys were racking them up last year. And if he's dropping that deep, it's 1, because he's frustrated, and 2, there's a better chance that we're not going to score a goal on the back end of that.
Yeah, I just to add to that, I don't think we look confident in our wing backs going forward. I think when you're sitting in that low to mid block, and I saw fans asking questions today and whatnot, like our counterattacks. You want to be good on the counterattack. Well, those two positions are essential for starting those counterattacks, and you need them higher up in the attack so Hartel can stay a little higher, so Bescher and Klaus don't have to drop in so much. And you can kind of let your 2 6s, your 6 and your 8 float a little more. Those two wingback positions need to be, more involved in the buildup and more involved in the counterattack. And when you have two center backs, center backs out there, it's just not natural for them, right? They're more defensively minded and sound, which is fine. But if you're going to score goals, that's not a recipe for success.
For sure. You know who would fit that space really well, AJ? Mr. Marky
not AJ Cochran.
Mr. Marky Segerbergs, bring him back 100%. From the Charleston Battery. That's exactly what Marky does. He was a striker growing up and then got pushed back to a right back, and we're just like, is this really the play? And been killing it ever since because
attacking-minded wingbacks. Attacking-minded wingbacks, right? I mean, some people are going to hate on a Trent Alexander-Arnold and a Marcelo, but why are those, why have they made a career for themselves? I mean, those guys their deliveries, their willingness to get into the attack, like it's special to watch. That's why they're a lot of people's favorite wingbacks of all time. So and that's on the coach. That's on the coach. So on what personnel you put out there. I would love to see Marky come back here. I'd love to see more attacking wingbacks. So yeah, that's just my personal how I would want the game played. But
for sure,
I think good defensively.
Part of that to me is your hands are a bit tied with I think the Totland injury is absolutely killing us at this point. Mm-hmm. You just don't have a replacement for him. You have Zielinski on the bench, but he's a very unknown quantity at this point, right? Just coming out of the draft. Who knows what he's capable of? I mean, I wonder if we'll see him in the future because, again, now we've played Watts there 2 games ago. That was not great. And then we saw Hebert there, and it wasn't great, but for a different reason. Hebert just isn't that profile, at all. I think for me, this team needs to get more comfortable, and Olaf, I think, needs to get more comfortable with tabling some risk, right? I think Betcher mentioned in the press conferences, we need to play with a bit more risk and attack when we're, already pretty solid defensively. That to me comes with putting more numbers in that are attacking. So pushing your wing backs up the pitch, being able to counter press if you lose the ball, and you might get caught higher up, but you got to get your ass back if you get beat. So part of that is kind of putting your cards out there, and sometimes that risk will pay off and sometimes it's going to hurt you. But I think right now we just play almost like we're up in the match. Mm-hmm. And we're not. We didn't score a goal. We play like we've already got that goal, and we're kind of just sitting on it right now, and we're trying to suffocate from there. And that's just not a way to go about playing the game, right? And I think, AJ, the identity offensively, you've seen maybe a couple little moments here and there of it throughout our 6-game tenure so far in 2025. But overarching, I can't tell you exactly what we're about besides the fact that we sent in, 40 to 60 crosses on Sunday. That sure as hell cannot be our identity moving forward.
No. And I mean, the longer you go in the game without scoring, or we concede in the 20th minute, 30th minute, I mean, the psyche of the players, instead of, hey, we're going to, come back and win this game 2-1, 3-1, as it continues to drag on, right? You're like, oh man, hopefully we can get a goal and, tie this game up 1-1, or God forbid we go down 2-0. And that's the mentality you don't want. That's what I was kind of mentioning, that you want to be on a team where you're confident going into each game that you're going to score goals, because that's how you're going to win games. It's the hardest thing to do in the game. It's not easy to do. Don't get me wrong. But the teams that are going to win these trophies, be in high playoff positions, are teams that are going to score a lot of goals, in my opinion. So
I do want to kind of bring us back real quick. I know, Jake, you said if you're going to be a guy in this team, you need to be able to be busting your butt to get back as well. So, AJ, I wanted to get your thoughts on this as a former center back. You can see here's our 3 main center backs. Here's Siebert over here, and here's Horn over here. If you kind of watch this ball, I wanted to get your thoughts here, AJ, when I hit play.
Yeah.
Everybody that's not watching this is the 33rd minute. You have Nilsson, who's taking on Bukhari, probably 35 yards from the goal.
Yeah.
Knowing Nilsson's skill set, he's not going to be able to track back or be able to twist his legs or his hips very often. So I wanted to think, one here, what are your thoughts here on Horn and Morales? If you watch both of these guys, both are just jogging back and not exactly looking to be that cover man. You have Kessler looking to be the cover man here, but he's also picking up Brandon Vasquez.
Yep.
And that ultimately leads to the goal. But I wanted to get your thought there, just on a positioning perspective. We roll it back. Is this something that we will typically see out of having these 3 backs, is having a Nilsson pick up a quick, speedy forward like that, probably 35, 40 yards from the goal?
Well, I tell you what, that's not where I would want to be. That's not where I would want to be in a 1v1 situation with Bukhari, one of the trickiest guys in the league, right? With really no cover. I understand if you pause here, Kessler, in my opinion, is in a pretty good spot. He can help. Okay. The one thing I would say about all three center backs in this picture, or the two center backs in Hebert, is their body positioning. Okay. If they could open up just a little bit more to where, they can see Brandon and they can see whoever that is close to Yaro, okay? Because then you can make two decisions. You can be talking, you know where they're at, and you're also watching from Kessler's point of view, being able to cover, okay? The two central midfielders need to be busting their ass back. I mean, they have to be. They have to realize that they have to put it in this 10, 15 yards. If they put it in for these next 10, 15 yards, they don't score that goal.
Right.
So there's multiple things. And one more thing here, okay? Their body positioning there, okay? Hebert needs to be talking to Yaro, saying shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. But Yaro's concentrated because Kessler obviously needs to slide over. So it's a lack of communication, but then it's also ideally in this last-ditch moment, you need Yaro to step to Brandon Vasquez, okay? And you need Hebert to step to I can't think of the guy.
It's Uzuni who scores the goal.
Uzuni, thank you. Hebert needs to step to that. Okay, and that's coming from, it's not just on those two. It's coming from the center midfielders. It's coming from Lunt, right? The communication there needs to be, spot on. And you're in a, this is a last-ditch effort. I mean, you're 10 yards away from goal with one of the most, gifted guys in the league on the ball. Kessler's concentrating on giving him cover, okay? Yaro needs to step on Vasquez. Hebert needs to step up, and your 2 6s, your 6 and your 8 need to step down and cover. And this goal doesn't happen. So it's kind of all around. It's just not one guy. So
I will also say, when I was rewatching this, if you guys didn't notice, this goal is not a good finish. This was off of Yaro. It was going to be an easy save by Ben Loon. Watch this.
Yeah.
It goes right off of him and into the side netting. So it was one that actually just became extremely frustrating in the entire sense. But it does lead us into the next one, AJ. You can watch this ball. It's a great little flick here. And I get, so there's Kessler stepping, but look how far out Nilsson is here as well. So from a communication standpoint at center backs, Brandon Vasquez could have easily almost took this straight in. And that's what causes then Nilsson to make this lunging attack at him and causing Lund to make a great save right there. But I wanted to get your thoughts if we back it up again. What about this positioning here?
Back it up just a little more before this pass goes in, if you can. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to look at Hebert's positioning and Yaro. You can't even see Yaro in the picture, okay? Hebert needs to pass him on, okay? Yep. Right now you got two guys marking, one guy. You could almost say three. And Yaro's not even in the picture because Yaro's like a little dink over the top, right? And we're exposed. But ideally in a back three, you need Yaro tucked in for, he needs to be in the picture. He needs to be closer to Kessler there, right? And see, they're too late at that point, right? Now they're just reacting. Now it's an alarm. You're sounding the alarm of scrambling to get back. So that organization earlier needs to be better. And I think that's fixed if the three center backs are just closer together. That's the whole point of playing a back three, is that they're more narrow to not give up these opportunities. And then it was clever, right? It's a clever little flick, great little turn by Brandon, and a great save by Ben. So that's kind of my thoughts. You guys got anything, on that?
Jake, what do you got there from a keeper perspective as well?
No, I think solid save, right? And that was his one save he had in the match, right? So there for the moment, he had no chance on the goal. I appreciate that. Obviously, as a goalkeeper, you got to be alive. You got to be awake. You got to be tuned in, dialed in for the entire 90. And Austin, really kind of hunkered down for most of the second half. So he didn't really see much action, but he was looking good there. That was a great take by Vasquez, in my opinion. And I think people have really dumped on Nilsson for his role in that goal. And I think he does have to be better. And like you said, AJ, I think the positioning also could have helped out there. But people saying that, Nilsson he can't allow that. I mean, this is a guy that for me probably belongs more in the center of the three center backs versus on the left side. I know he's a left footer. That necessarily doesn't mean that I think he should be in the left side of the center back. I think he should be sandwiched between those that are a little more dynamic than he is. And I think probably that's Horn when it's everyone healthy more in the future. So I think there's a lot of things that could happen. And by the way, anyone that's not watching on video, go back and watch the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes on video. AJ, that was phenomenal video analysis. I feel like I was in the room with you watching these clips back and forth. We might need to make a little segment out of that. But that was really great breakdown.
Thanks. I love being able to see a visual in front of me, I mean, I've seen it for a while. I just think it's great for the fans to see. And this is spot on. This is the best way to learn and break down, what exactly went on in the game. And honestly for Ben there, okay, who's coming on, what's his second start in a row?
Yep.
It's a great save, and to push that wide, I mean, it's to be on your toes. That's good. That's good for Ben. That shows that his confidence is growing, and obviously he's going to get a few more games. So
yeah,
good for him.
I'll bring us into the last one real quick here as you see this. This is where, so you see Nielsen, he's on Brandon Vasquez. He sees Bukhari starting to make the run while Kessler's probably starting to take a step here with Yarrow. So I kind of understand the switch there. But then watch Mr. Giannis Horn here. This was extremely frustrating to me when I was watching this. Not only does he go back on a jog, it turns to a walk. When you have Mr. Brandon Vasquez on the back post as well and just throws his arm up like, oh yeah, he's for sure offsides. What would you be doing here, AJ? If you're at the center backs again, I would just because I love your knowledge from seeing that aspect of it. When we're seeing these balls being played through, sorry, I went a little bit too far back. Here's our three center backs again. Is Hebert up a little bit too high? Should Josh be stepping here? It looks like Kessler maybe is dropping when he maybe should be stepping to take the ball. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a tough one here. This is a tough one, but this is like in training when you do those, 3v2s, 4v3s, whatever it is. Horn needs to be busting his ass to get back. Both sixes need to be recovering down. I think Yarrow's okay because at some point someone needs to step, whether it's him or Kessler. It's
stop the ball. Yep.
Stop the ball. Make that guy make a decision. Hebert's on his horse. The one thing that I want you guys to watch is all three center backs' body positionings again, okay? And it's another late run that kills us, which is definitely on our two center midfielders. But at the same time, if our center backs have a little bit better body positioning, all three of them drop down to that 6-yard box. And if you remember on their goal, they did the exact same thing. So I wonder if that's something in training that the coaches are telling them to do is just to get down to the 6-yard box, open your bodies up and communicate. But look at who is that? Who's
it's Durkin with Wolf. Yeah, Durkin has him there, and then just leaves him straight onto the middle.
Yeah, he can't do that, And I understand because right now he's watching the ball. He's like, damn, do I have to get over there and cover? Right? Am I gonna, if he takes another touch inside, am I gonna have to step there? And at this point, you want Yarrow, you want Kessler, you want Lunt to be screaming, information to that 6 or whatnot. And I don't know what Horn's doing,
that one's just a tough one.
This should be 2-0 game over.
Right.
And look at that. That can't happen.
AJ, I think the way that you just called that out is perfect in the sense that, like, I don't know, maybe it is something in practice that they're going on because both of our goals had all three of our center backs directly on the 6-yard line, and it's just a cut back across to an open PK spot.
And I've had coaches, that have taught that. Get down to the 6-yard box, okay? And then open your body up. I mean, a dead sprint to the 6-yard box, open your body up, organize, and then at that point, make a decision. But you really need your two midfielders to work down then. So, it's good moments for them to learn from, right? I guarantee that those will be exposed in film, and they'll be talking about that. And, so it's good learning moments for them. The one thing from a center back perspective is just I was always body positioning. Body positionings. Don't be so closed off from the game. Try to be a little more opened up. So
yeah. I like that. A little center back 101 there, AJ. And I love that you mentioned the video. Like, hopefully they're picking up on this. Like, they're looking at the same footage we are, if not much better angles, a lot of different angles, and they're breaking it down, analyzing what could they have done better. One of the things I'm a little bit concerned about, and it's strictly from just listening to the press conferences now, is I feel like sometimes I'm on a different wavelength, and I think even sometimes the team's on a different wavelength than at least what I hear Olaf saying in these press conferences. So, for example, one of his opening statements he had made in response to a question was he thought we generated enough chances on the night, and that a lot of those were in wide areas, and that, in fact, they maybe deserve to win the game. I disagree pretty much on all three of those. The wide areas I do get if he's counting crosses. But the enough chances, 2 shots on target, I know that doesn't mean a chance, but to me, if you're generating enough chances, you're definitely threatening the on goal more than just twice. And to me, it's less about chances and more of like those half chances, or you find those moments that could lead to the chance, like the double assist almost. And we kept just lacking those little moments there. And I feel like the only real threat that we offered for most of the night or the our bread and butter was really just those crosses. I mean, Hebert had a ton of crosses, Hartel had a ton of crosses, and a lot of these crosses never connected. And my question is, if crosses is your game plan, that makes me sad, but that is a game plan, and it's always an option, of course. But if you're going to do that, why not put a human bulldozer up top that's going to go up and climb and win these headers? He was the only guy that won one on the night that led to a shot for us. How can you not be putting Clausen if that's what you want to do on the night? And again, I don't want that to become our identity either, right? I still think we're trying to find it. I don't think that will be, but it clearly is part of it. And if you're going to send that many crosses into the box, I think we connected on 17% of ours. It's brutal, right? How are you not playing your number one cross guy on that? So that's just an offensive thing that I kind of wanted to point out.
I'm with you there, Jake. I think I only saw one true solid cross, and I understand corners kind of go into that, but that's only 8 of them. You haven't here. Our accurate crosses were 7 of 45, which is absurd. Hartel was 2 of 14. I would say the best chance that we had was Hartel's cross into Volum's feet. I think it was the 65th minute, but that was it. And I wouldn't even consider that a cross. It is considered a cross because it came from outside the 18 into the 18, but it was just a well-struck pass, just driven straight to him there. But I mean, otherwise, if you're not having a guy, like you said, like Klaus or any of these guys that can actually get up and win a ball, and then what are we doing at the end of the game? We're throwing Baumgartel up at the top and then just hoping that we're going to get our center back on the end of one of these crosses. But from a set piece perspective, there wasn't really too much there. It felt like we were kind of disjointed. The one thing I also wanted to get your thoughts here, AJ, because we talked about it earlier in the episode, was getting minutes and getting chances. What are your thoughts on what we're doing here with subs when we're at halftime with an XG of 0.12 and without a shot on goal, but then we're not making any substitutions until the 61st minute?
Yeah, a little strange. I don't know. The one thing that's jumping into my brain, is you need difference makers. And I thought when it's too long, to answer your question, I think it's too long. I think if you're not seeing something by the 60th minute's okay, 55th minute, okay. I feel bad a little bit for Klaus. I think he needed longer than what he had. Celio, was my bright spot for City. I thought Hartel was good, but when Celio came on, I thought that was, I felt like if City were going to score, it was when Celio was on the field, and Klaus. Because I think you need those difference makers, especially at that level. Bukhari's a difference maker. I mean, that guy, he goes at defenders. He creates things. Now, he's probably going to have a bad game here or there, but he's going to have games where he creates multiple opportunities. I think Celio can be that guy for us. Subs, I don't know. I never was a coach. I just know that if it's not working up to the 60th minute, then it needs to change.
Right.
It needs to change. So, and I think from a player perspective and a locker room perspective, when the energy changes as subs come on, maybe that's a little bit of a clue, a little light bulb going off for the coach to maybe, try something new next game.
Yeah, I would agree. I want to tack on 2 things to that too. And I think one, you can take at the angle, AJ, from a defending perspective. Something else Olaf mentioned that we need to just improve on overall is, if we're going to rely on crosses and cutbacks, which we had, again, plenty of in this last match, you've got to have runners in the box that are early to the near post, late runners, guys in the back post. And I think when you're starting off with so many defensive-oriented field players, that's not native to them. It's hard for Dirk, and you can teach that in practice, right? You can teach it, but also there's a certain element that you can't teach. Some people just have the instinct of where to be and when. And I feel like we're counting on guys that where it's not native, it's not organic for them to think about where to go for that late cutback and where to pop up when you're only starting Betcher and Hartel, who are really your truest attacking players there. One of them's probably serving in the cross, that being Hartel, for example. And Betcher can only do so much because he's got 2 center backs that are hounding him. So again, I'm fine with cutbacks. Cutbacks are a great way to score goals. A lot of teams manufacture goals off of those. But for me, it's good, but you got to have the right people out there to make a difference there. And you got to be making the right runs. The service has got to be good. And I think sometimes we're just playing the ball that we think we should play, but it's not necessarily intentional. And that's a little bit of me armchair center backing it. But that's what I kind of see sometimes from my purview.
I mean, I'm with you there as well, Jake. I think it's one that it's just frustrating. I would say and I'm intrigued, AJ, like you said, I think with the sparks that we saw that came into this game, do we see something, a little shakeup as we're going into Kansas City this coming weekend, especially as they're going through some turmoil right now, getting 1 point in their last, 13 games, is Jake? So it's just something absolutely absurd. And I really hope we're going to see something change this weekend.
AJ, go ahead.
No, just real quick. I just think you were spot on about Hartel. Hartel likes to float and be a difference maker and creative. And what do you say, 2 for 14 crosses? I mean, 14 crosses, that's a lot, right? And that's one less guy in your box. And when you're a 10, if he's not going to be one of those runners in the box, then you need one of your 8s, okay? Or you need a winger from the backside to really, make that run. And ideally, you want 3 guys in the box for every cross, ideally.
Right.
But when you start thinking about Hartel being, delivering, and your 8's, busting his ass to get in the box, and then next thing you know, he's got to go 75 yards to cover, that 10 yards that we were talking about on their 2 good chances, makes it a little harder. But why not kind of sit one true 6 and have Hartel float, and then just have that 8 almost as like a second 10, a little higher. If you're going to go with 1 striker, or you go with 2 strikers. So that's kind of what I'd like to see. So we'll see.
No, well, I'm going to have you extrapolate on that right now on your final thoughts here, AJ. So you've seen 6 games through. We learned a lot, I think, in this game. Again, I think there's still a lot of positive takeaway, too. A lot of bright spots. You mentioned one of them in Cilio. I think Klaus had a good cameo. I think Ostrak had a fantastic cameo as well. And I'm hoping that Olaf's seeing the same things we're seeing. Like, these guys, as much as it wasn't like we were knocking on the door about to score that goal at the very end, we at least were causing a little bit of chaos and making, I think, Austin work a little bit harder for it, which is good, right? And I want to ask you, AJ, as we head to Kansas for a rivalry match, they're obviously, like Justin said, a little bit of transition right now as well. Do you have predictions, thoughts on what's going to make this result for us in Kansas, or who do you think could play a much bigger role in this match to hopefully turn it in our tide?
I thought he was going to score this past weekend. I think Klaus gets a goal. Okay. And to change, I think just that energy of a rivalry, right, is everything kind of changes in terms of going into that match, right? I mean, I think we're going to score goals, first of all. I think Klaus is going to get one. And, I think it's going to be a good game for us. One thing to note on the Kansas City side, obviously, is, Vermees is out. So now they're going to be coming in hungry, right? Because some of those guys are going to be fighting for starting spots, and they want to impress whoever the new interim head coach is. But that's also a great opportunity for St. Louis, right, to come in here, get a big win, start that trend in the right direction, score a couple goals. I hope they take more risks. I forget which one of you said it. I think that's so true. You got to take more risk and just be organizing on the back end, your center backs, And I think St. Louis 3-1.
Oh, okay. Hey, I got the same prediction for my own. I love it, AJ. Well, hey, thanks again, man, for coming on for the show. I know you'll be tuning in for this one. I know you were at the game for Austin as well, but we'll definitely have you on again soon here, AJ. But we got the prediction. We got that locked in. I'm manifesting it right now. And we'll talk to you soon, AJ. Have a great rest of your night, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. All right, Justin. Let's switch gears. I mean, I'm excited. Like, I feel like AJ gave us a little bit of that optimism to kind of breathe in and say, okay, let's hit reset a little bit. I'm feeling that same sense, and not just because AJ said it. I do feel pretty good about this matchup heading up. But before we get to the Kansas side of things here, Justin, let's talk about our partner for 2025 here in Hoffman Bros. Again, they are a presenting sponsor for 2025, and we talked about the deal they had going on. We are now in April, so no longer are the portions of sales going to Stray Rescue STL, but again, that's an awesome cause, and it doesn't drop now because the portion isn't going there. This is still a great partner, someone that believes and is embedded in the St. Louis community. And right now, spring is difficult, right? With think about your HVAC, right? Because it's a slow season, the weather's back and forth. Right now, we're trying to kind of push, how do we get ready for the summer, right? And I think another way to get ready for the summer is let's take inventory on what's going on. Has the furnace been through hell to see us through winter? It wasn't a crazy winter, but maybe let's check up on that furnace, get some maintenance done for it. Also, air quality. Pollen is out the ass right now. Make sure you get, your indoor air quality sampled, and make sure you get your ducts cleaned, the air scrubbed. Good examples of things that you can be doing in and around their home. And Hoffman Brothers does all of that and everything else you can imagine under the roof. So if you're in need, or if you think you might be in need here very soon, be proactive. Jump on it. Hoffman Bros will be there for you. You can call them at 314-664-3011 or visit them online at hoffmanbros.com.
like Jake said, do not wait for this. This is not something that you want to wait until that St. Louis heat hits, or if we get another snow here, God knows. I think we're supposed to hail tomorrow. This is something that call them, go online, and just schedule a quick little tune-up. Make sure you're ready to go for the summer. Something that's very easy, and you're not going to regret it. So we love Hoffman Brothers, and we are truly excited to be a partner with them. And Jake, now that I'm even more excited to talk about that, I do want to talk about Sporting Kansas City. I think looking back in 2024, very odd year for them. 31 points, 13th in the Western Conference, did not qualify. Made a run to the U.S. Open Cup final. Jake Davis emerged as a high-quality young player for them. Otherwise, pretty dreadful year. And that's coming off of a year prior to, if you remember, where they didn't win any of their first 10 games, but then made the playoffs and knocked us out. Yeah. So very just like turmoil-ish year for them. And it explains a lot on the new news that just came in.
Yeah, obviously, as AJ mentioned, and we'll talk a little more about here, is they have just yesterday, right, fired Pete Vermees, who has been a fixture at the club for 20 years now in some sort of managerial capacity. I believe 17 years as the head coach. He's also the club sporting director, technical director. He's also relinquished that role as well. So they have cut the tie with Vermees, who we like to poke a lot of fun. And I think I used to mention on all of our previews with him, because we've done it 6 times now, right? And more for the playoffs, if you count those. The guy's got plot armor. He must have had some dirty trash on someone, because he has been through it these last couple of years. But he is a big focal point in Kansas City and for soccer there, right? With an MLS Cup in his pocket, a couple of U.S. Open Cups as well, and really built that team. They were the Wiz, back then, and now they're Sporting Kansas City. So they did a rebranding. They did Children's Mercy Park, and he's really kind of overseen so much of that. And he's coached in 609 matches for them. Fun fact for him, Justin, I know we mentioned this once before, but he is the only player I think ever domestically to both win a championship as a player and as a coach for the same club. So I want to give him a little bit of flowers, but I'm excited for this match. I think we do talk about the new manager balance a little bit. I think Sporting's going to be, this could be a little bit of a resetting season for them. They maybe weren't anticipating, because they did bring in some fresh blood, which we'll talk about, but I think it's an opportune time to play them in the midst of all this.
I'm very intrigued though, Jake. So their interim coach is Kerry Zavagin. And I really do think looking this guy up, kind of a Vermees 2.0. He's former Sporting Kansas City player and U.S. men's national team player. He was at Kansas City as a holding mid in 2000, where he played 9 full seasons with them and then immediately became a coach right after. Do you know who also became the head coach that same season? Peter Vermees. So he's been the assistant coach for Vermees for the last 17 years. And he currently holds the MLS record as he enters his 26th season in a row with one club, which is absolutely insane to think about, from player to coach. So he's been there the whole time as well. So it's not like, do you think this guy really has fresh ideas, or he kind of just Vermees 2.0? But I mean, this guy did have a solid career. This was a pretty insane stat when I saw this, Jake. He appeared for the U.S. men's national team 21 times. He recorded only 1 assist during those times, but the team went 15-2-4 when he featured during. That's pretty intense. That might be like the best run the U.S. men's national team's ever had.
Can I be honest for a second? I'll take this on one quick tangent. I think it would be very responsible for a guy like Pochettino. We haven't talked about the U.S. and what's going on with them right now, to look at a guy like Pete Vermees to bring on as an assistant. I don't know if he'd ever be open to that. Either way, right? Poach in Vermees and Vermees in an assistant coaching job for Poach. But just a guy that knows what it's like to wear the shirt, and, a winning guy, like a winning mentality, a different personality, of course, but like, could it be worth to have a guy like that in the room that, really knows what it means to be an American and to wear the badge with honor, which I think you're kind of missing a little bit right now with this team. So a little bit of a fun little segue there.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I like the idea of bringing somebody on that cares, because obviously this U.S. men's national team doesn't seem like they care right now, but I'm not going to give the guy that has only gotten 1 point in the last 13 games.
For sure.
Let's keep him out of the room. Let's throw like Landon Donovan or one of those guys in there. And I'm with you. Throw Tim Howard somewhere in the locker room to get somebody that truly wore the crest and cared about it when we were in the World Cup back in the early 2000s. But from a team looking like this, they have literally, as we mentioned, 1 point in their last 13 matches. And so that means they've lost 12 out of their last 13, tying only 1 of them as well, and just looking absolutely terrible this year. And I will say, some of the key departures this year, probably a slight reason for that when you look about the start of this season. Al Polito, striker, Chivas, paid for him 7-figure transfer. freed up a DP spot. Johnny Russell, he was a club legend as well, and kind of an ass, to be completely honest. I feel like we use that same word, but I had another word in mind, but I'm going to stick with that one. And then Tim Mealy, the goalkeeper as well, club legend, also was not re-signed, and he's 38 years old. So had a couple of guys coming out. However, it looked like they had some returners and some guys they're bringing in where it's like, all right, maybe they are going to just plug and play.
Right. Like it was Vermees, I think, kind of rolling the dice because he rolled with the core the year before, and that bit him in the ass. Ass is the key word today. And then incomings wise, they spent some money. They came out and they said they would, which for the fans, they definitely deserve that. I mean, they don't really invest a ton in the club. The last couple of years, but they brought in Manu Garcia, who's a central attacking midfielder from Greece, 27-year-old in the prime of his career, $5 million fee, came up through Man City and was doing pretty well as a right-footed midfielder, really creative type player. And I think probably going to be, in the next couple of years, the guy that you picture when you think about Sporting, as long as he can just kind of hit. And that doesn't mean bang either. That means just kind of hit. They also brought in Dejan Joveljic in that first ever cash trade in MLS history. So the guy that's coming off the MLS Cup with LA Galaxy had a hell of a season with 15 goals, 6 assists in 2024. A big, piece of the LA Galaxy pie. They just couldn't afford to keep on as a DP. So they ended up shipping him off to Kansas, having an okay start to the season. So they brought in some serious attacking talent. They also brought in a winger from that same team they brought Mark Garcia from in Greece. But that guy's a little more of a sweetener on top with the deal. And they also returned a couple of guys that are also thorns in our side, at least in the fixtures that I can remember playing against them, right, Justin, with Shallowy and Eric Tommy.
Yeah, so Shallowy, this is his 9th season with Sporting Kansas City. So like you said, Jake, he's still one of those guys that was the mainstays with the Vermees stage. So it's going to be interesting to see how, but like I said, with this new Carey guy, I think he'll fit right in. Still, 9th season with Sporting Kansas City, and he's a guy they look to really create through. I think that's a name that you always hear going throughout the stadium when we're going to be there on Saturday and you hear it on TV. He has 2 of their first 5 goals this season, which is a hot start for him. And it's all on just total four total shots, all on goal. So being very efficient on his beginning of the season. And then Eric Tommy is their DP as well. 4th season with Sporting Kansas City. He had 15 goals, 17 assists in his first 3 seasons. He has one of their first 5 goals this season, and he leads the team in shots. So these are 2 of the regular names that you're consistently hearing with Sporting Kansas City. They're just not clicking right now.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into it. What you're kind of looking for here in this team is, we've kind of had the monkey on our back when you think about our form in Kansas. When I keep saying in Kansas, I think maybe some people think we're just making fun of them. They actually are. Like Jones Mercy Park is in Kansas, firmly in Kansas. So they are Sporting Kansas. And we've never won in Kansas against them. So I think this would be a big opportunity for us to do so. But overall, when you look at our entire history together, I'm taking out the playoffs out of convenience. In our head-to-head, we've had 6 total meetings, 13 goals for us. We've also conceded 12. And then in the matches, Justin, again, this is a little fun fact. In the 6 matches that have made it the regular season so far for us, again, remember 23-24, we played 3 times each. We've amassed collectively between both teams 32 yellow cards in those 6 matches. So you can tell what it means. It's a spicy affair. And a lot of these guys have no Midwestern, loyalty, no Midwestern roots, but they kind of know when they get in the ground that we're supposed to hate those guys. And we're going to definitely bring this rivalry to life when that whistle blows.
Oh, if you think about our team coming over from Germany, the amount of small towns that are around you and the close-knit groups that you have, families, you grow up, it's the same thing. They know that when they get here, they have that same rivalry, and it's something that clicks in their head. My only worry there, Jake, is, hey, are our guys going to stay awake on the bus ride from downtown Kansas all the way out to this park? Because good God, this is what we're talking about. It's a 21-minute, 18-mile drive to get out there. Like when we're going out there and we're like coming from downtown and having some beers during the day, whatever, and we're going to the Royals game, I'm going to take a nap in the Uber. This is absolutely absurd and something that they just need to change.
Yeah, no, it's not ideal. And I really do hope that for Kansas City too. Like as much as it's fun to be rival, it's also really fun to go to Kansas City and play downtown in Kansas City in a really cool stadium. And Jones Mercy Park is cool, but not where it is.
The Current do now. Like the I know it's a confusing name, but the Kansas City Current, the women's team plays downtown. And
I know.
That stadium looks incredible. It's almost like, hey, why don't you guys just bulldoze the other one? You don't get anyone filling out your bigger stadium out west anyways, and just play downtown. People would enjoy it.
I'm really curious, Justin, to see like the vibes from the local fans on this day. Because I really do feel like these last couple of years, they've probably seen a good chunk taken out of, momentum, right? And the fans and in the videos and the broadcasts have not been great looking wise when you think about it from an optics perspective. And they even, they invested, right? They brought in some attacking improvements. They wanted to improve that. They had the 7th lowest non-penalty expected goals in 2024. So they brought in guys to change that. They're a little bit more of a pressing team recently as well. When you think about like a stat like passes per defensive action, they're in the upper kind of percentile for that. They're also looking to turn the ball over in higher areas when pressing as well. But something that's constantly kind of bit them to me, and it's still a problem, is the midfield and the back line. I feel like they've just looked past it in terms of investing in and really trying to fill those gaps. And that to me has been a thorn in their side for the last couple of years. They didn't solve it this year. And I'm not saying they're just weak back there, but if I think about the team, the scales heavily tip towards their attack in terms of who I think the most about. That's because they have some big attackers out there now, like Joveljic, like Manu Garcia, we just talked about, like Shallowy, who's coming back. But I couldn't name you any defenders. I can name you Jake Davis in the middle of the park, who's getting a lot of reps there now, and he's a good player. But can they – I think for us, I guess where I'm going with this, Justin, is like it's almost like a tipping of the scales between both teams. Like defensively, we look great right now. We look pretty sturdy. We look composed. We look confident. But we have let in a couple of goals now. And then look at our offense. It's just sputtering along. It's not really consistent. We haven't found something that just consistently works for us. But they're kind of the opposite, where they can definitely score and they can also do some defense. But I'm not worried about their defense. And I'm hoping that our attack gets a little bit of confidence going up against who I would say probably not one of the better defenses they'll face this season.
Jake, I'm not going to lie. Your first 5 beers in Kansas City are on me if you can name their current goalkeeper.
Pulse Camp.
God dang it. All right. Well, I care more about our team. I'm going to bring us into the Hoffman brothers starting 11. You're getting Bud Zeros when I said, like, it didn't have to be out, but you're just getting water beers.
That's okay. That's fine. I'll still take those off you. Justin, I'm excited for this 11. And we talked about it in the green room a little bit before this. I'm not going at the angle of I'm stepping into Olaf's shoes and I'm making the Olaf 11. I'm making the Jake and Justin what we would do if we became the coaches for a day. And I think we're making the people's 11 when it comes down to it. So here's what I got. I've got Lunt in the back, obviously. And then in my back 3, I am going to roll with Hebert, Nilsson, Kessler moving from left to right. Folks might tell me, Jake, Nilsson's left-footed center back. I know. We saw the weaknesses of that when he gets onto a flank, and I'm not convinced that'll be fixed by the time we get to Sporting. So I'd like to nestle him right in the middle. And I know Kessler's been so great in the middle, and I think you can always go back there. But what if we pushed him out right and you use his right foot to swing balls up and down the right channel and contribute a little bit more that way? I'd be interested to see that back 3 get rolled with. What do you think about that, Justin?
So we talked about it in the green room, and everybody's gonna be like, again, Hebert, like, why? It's because we don't even know what Baumgartel's doing coming in like the 85th minute and being thrown in at forward. So we can't just expect him to be starting. However, Jake, something I was not thinking about earlier, I would probably switch Kessler with Hebert. So I would go left sided center back Kessler, middle Nilsson, Hebert right, solely for the fact that Hebert's been struggling to pass the ball. And if you're a right-footed center back going up the left side, you typically have to use your left foot more often than not. I would rather him be on his strong foot and not be. Otherwise, he's always going to be cutting it back and passing it to Nilsson or Lund. I would like to him have a little bit more freedom going forward because his confidence will significantly drop if he's trying to dribble with his left foot up the left line.
Fair enough. And I think as long as we have Totland out, right, I think your hands are a little bit tied on the right wing back spot, but we've seen 2 failures. Failures is strong, right? We've seen 2 performances that have been less than great at right wing back. So I'm going to throw someone who I know can probably do a job out there, and I want to put Wallum there for this game. We obviously saw him a little more advanced in the last match, and that was fine. By the way, I think he's a special player. I'm really excited about him. I think he's a little bit of a switchblade. We talked about that to a player before, where he can kind of plug and play really wherever you need him. But I want to see him get a shift on the right side in this match. And I think opposite him, I would go back to Horn. And again, this is not Horn's best position. I think he still probably makes the most sense at left center back. But given what we're dealing with right now with Totland being gone, I think Horn can fill in on the left wing back position. And then the biggest thing you get to, Justin, is the middle of the midfield, right? Like, what do you do here now? Because I think you would want to go back to Leuven if he is back. We know that we don't know what's going on right now, right? Because he had the suspension, which caused him out for last weekend. We also learned that he was, taking some time away personally, I'm sure, to be with his wife and do whatever's going on in their treatment and her rehab right now. So I'm not going to pencil him in yet because we haven't heard anything back about that. But I assume if he's back, and he's back into the 11. He wants to be there. He wants to fight for the team. But if he's not, I think you have to start Ostrak in this midfield. And I think it'd be Ostrak, Hartel ahead of him, and then Durkin as the holding midfielder in that scenario.
I'm 100% with you because there wasn't anything I saw out of Morales that would make me give him the nod over him. I definitely do think that it would be Leuven if he's ready to go, and I really do hope he is. I hope his wife's doing all right. I'm assuming the team is like, hey, while you have this red card, we know you're not going to play this weekend. Why don't you just take a couple days off and kind of have some family time? So I'm hoping that's the current situation, but I would agree with you. So we then go Horn, Ostrak, Durkin, Wallum, with it in front of them also would then be more of like a Hartel. So like a little triangle in the middle of bottom left Ostrak, bottom right Durkin, top Hartel. And then going up to the top, I absolutely love this, Jake. You know I love this. Let's throw the people's in the starting 11 with a Celio and a Mr. Klaus. Because guess what? One, Klaus needs to absolutely start. We don't know what's going on with that. I'm very confused. It's not an injury thing, and he's not getting enough minutes, as AJ mentioned, to be able to really make a statement when he's getting in because he's getting the last 20 minutes a game. And it's not enough time to get a true flow there. Same thing with Celio. Celio's not getting enough time to get a flow, but he's the only guy, Jake, when he got the ball in those last 20 minutes, I was on the edge of my seat. And it's not just because I think he's an incredible player. He is truly that kind of skill to be able to take guys one-on-one and make you feel like you have a chance of scoring a goal. And I would say if I'm feeling that way as a defender in the stands, imagine the guys in Kansas City watching this guy dribble at you with the confidence he has. You're going to draw two defenders, which is going to free somebody else up. And I could easily see a nice Mr. Celio assist in this game too.
Yeah, and I think people might say, well, why don't you start Betcher? This is nothing against Betcher. I think he's been kind of hung out to dry when he's starting by himself there, even though he's shown that numbers-wise he probably is the best off of anyone if he plays on his own. But for me, it looks like Teuscher, by the way, this is just on FOTMAP I'm seeing this, but it looks like late April is his return with a hamstring injury. I have not seen that or confirmed that anywhere else, so I'll just mention that with a little bit of salt. But I like the Celio Klaus dynamic, right? Because you get one guy that can create danger, 1v1, taking guys on, being very direct. And we know that he can also strike a ball as well. And you have Klaus that's putting in the hard yards, that's holding bodies, that's commanding defenders to him and freeing up Celio to, again, find space, use the space, get into the space, and make the most. I think he also can service, some good ball delivery as well. So I'm rolling with that. And if anything, these guys are a spark. There's something different, and I think they bring more identity and more personality to the team. And they did in the shortened cameo they had on Sunday. And again, I'm not saying that we were just pounding Austin. Like we definitely deserved a goal, but the intensity was up. You can tell these guys are hungry. You can tell they might feel a little bit shortchanged with the drop in minutes from year over year. And I'm hoping that Olaf sees that hunger and gives them, as long a shift as he possibly can to go out and make a big difference. And then you got Betcher waiting in the wings to hop on. And that he's going to be all up for this rivalry as well. And I think Klaus, for me specifically, how feisty that dude is. Remember when he just hip checked, shoulder checked that dude or Willie Agata, right, into next year? I mean, I think he's still in 2026. So we'll have to grab him when we hit that year. But, I mean, unbelievable. And I think he's a guy that you want to suit up, clean up in this game.
That's one of those that 100% I would agree with that. I forgot about that Klaus check. And then also to that point, Simon Betcher's got some fight in him. And he's a St. Louis boy. He knows what's going on around here. And that would be a huge one for him. So if he doesn't get the start, please give him at least 30 minutes to get in there and wreak some havoc. Because if you have a Simon Betcher, you could see how hard he works and how hard he presses for a full 90. Imagine if him just having that in a condensed 35 minutes in a rivalry game, this guy's going to be absolutely flying. So, Jake, if we're going to try to win this game, as AJ predicted 3-1, what you mentioned was your prediction. I'm predicting a 2-1 dub. What is your goal for us to get a 3-1 dub?
Yeah, my goal is a little bit soft, Samara, not because it's bad, but because I can't find a way to quantify it. But I've already kind of teed it up a little bit, right, where I say the intensity. We all saw the hunger. We all saw the fight in the team. And I don't think it translated into clear-cut big chances in the Austin match. But at least to the eye, it's like, hey, I can see these guys want it out there. And I want to see that same intensity move from the last 15 minutes to the opening of the match. I want to see us open as if we're down 3-0 and we have to get on the board. We have to score. We have to take it to them. And we do, right? We're in enemy territory. They're going to want this win. Things have gone awfully for this team. You think things have been bad for us? Look west, right? We're going to be there. It's going to look awful. And they're going to want this maybe just as much, if not more, than we do, given what they've been through. So can you step on that confidence they might approach this game with, right in the very beginning, quash those feelings, those vibes of, hey, new manager bounce. Just step on it right there, end it there, throw in an early challenge. I didn't put that on here, but I want to see that as well. Throw in an early challenge, very obviously clean, but like leave a little something on someone. Remind them this is a rivalry. We want these 3 points and we want to come away with them. So I think mine is just that intensity that we saw in the Austin game. Bring it from the whistle.
I absolutely love that. And I'd say, to my point on that, mine is score first, because we've talked about this, that there is such thing as the new manager bounce. You've seen it for the Blues. You've seen it for us even last season. So this team is going to be looking to have a little bit more life. They know it's a rivalry. I want to squash that, like you said, right out of the gate. If we score first, the fans are going to lose it. The guys are going to feel heavy legs, like, oh my God, here we go again. We cannot score. We cannot get points. So if we score first, I think that's a massive, massive win for us. And I don't see us then getting out of there with at least a point if we're scoring first there. So Jake, also looking at the betting odds of it, we are plus 200 in this game, and they are plus 110 with a tie at plus 225. And then the double chance is a little bit too juicy at minus 155. But the reason that I don't really care about the double chance is because I'm going to be playing a lot of underdog entries. So if anybody doesn't already have underdog, download the app, use code BALLWATCHING to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And if you already have the app, tail us. We will be throwing our entries out on our social media so that you guys can follow us. It's been tough for us because we keep including Klaus, and then if he doesn't start, it voids the entry, which I do appreciate, because obviously you don't want to have us relying on him to hit a stat that if he's not going to get the full 90, he's not going to get there. But he's going to be in our pack again this weekend.
He is, right? Like, I'm going to just manifest it, right? We're going to keep sticking him in there until because you know that a week we take him out of the entry of the pack, that he is going to bang. He's probably going to score a hat trick the moment we take him out. So we're not taking him out. I refuse to budge on that. But we rolling heavy and underdog, making some entries for the weekend, having some fun with friends, and witnessing hopefully history for us as we get our first dub in Kansas. It's going to be a magnificent time. Weather doesn't look great, but again, Justin, to your point of the scoring early, you know what else happens there is what happens at Children's Mercy Park when St. Louis scores is people realize, holy crap, there's a lot of St. Louis people here, probably more than Kansas City fans. So how great would it be to score early and just to take over Children's Mercy Park, start the Olays? Like, there's so much we could do here. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but this is a big opportunity, right? If I think Olaf, if you can come in, do the right things here, generate some good positive momentum on the attacking front, I think the goodwill that would come from a win in Kansas, who cares if they're 13th or whatever they are in the table right now? I think it would mean a lot to this fan base. I think it'd mean a lot to this club. And this stretch we have coming up is not easy, with Columbus waiting in the wings, Vancouver, LA, Seattle, San Diego, before we then have a return leg against Sporting in May. So it's not an easy stretch ahead. Get your points where you can get them. Away is never the place you plan to get them. But if you could, I think this would mean a lot, both to the team, to the fans, but also in the stretch of the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, the teams that you just mentioned are all above us in the standings outside of Columbus, who is obviously in the other half, and they're in third in the Eastern Conference. So this is going to be a tough stretch, and we need to get the points where we can get them. So we need to come in hot and heavy on Saturday. We will be there. Everybody, if you're there, if you see us, please come say hi. We'll be bouncing around Children's Mercy Park. Obviously, there's not really a place unless we're going to go pregame at that like furniture store that everybody jokes about. So you'll probably see us there, probably close to game time, but if you see us anywhere around Kansas City or in the park, please come say hi.
Yeah, if you guys are in the area, Nebraska Furniture Mart, I believe, Justin, we're going to be in the Ottoman section with a little cooler if you want to visit us. I'm kidding. Don't go to the Ottoman section. We will not be there. But if you do see us, definitely say hi. It's going to be a fun day to support the City Forever Red. Hope you all enjoyed the episode. It's great having AJ back on and getting some player instincts. That video analysis is cool, man. Again, I encourage you all, even if you listen to it on audio only, go back and check into the YouTube side of that. AJ breaking down film was great, and I think we can maybe do a little bit more of that in the future. So great episode, man. Always a blast doing this for you all. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week to recap the rivalry match here and look ahead to the future. In the meantime, all for City.
Offer City.